All right, today on the Downsized news, a major disruption in access to GLP-1 medications. Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are planning to bypass insurance and sell Wegovy and Zepbound directly to employers. No PBMs, no rebate games, just the drug and the cost. It could open doors for millions or push insurance even further away from covering obesity care. We're watching to make sure this actually improves affordability and access to not just Big Pharma's bottom line. Plus new data revealing who becomes a GLP-1 super responder, a once-weekly drug showing 20% weight loss, the food industry scrambling to adapt, and a warning about GLP-1 scams multiplying online. Stay with us. It's a big day in the news of GLP-1s.
Welcome back to the Downsized News. It's Monday, November 24th, 2025. Thank you for joining us. We're glad you're here. I'm Laraine Durham, and I've lost over 50 pounds using the GLP-1 medication tirzepatide. So grab your water, settle in, and let's get into this week's GLP-1 headlines.
And I'm Christopher Durham. I've lost 100 pounds with GLP-1s, and this is where we talk about what that's really like. The wins, the hard days, and the science behind it all.
Each week we bring you the latest GLP-1 news, from Mounjaro, Zepbound, Wegovy, and Ozempic to the new treatments on the horizon. We look at the research, the policies, and the real stories that affect all of us who are treating the disease of obesity.
If you're new to our channel, welcome. And if you've been with us for a while, welcome back. We're not doctors, and this is not medical advice. We're just sharing what we've learned along the way.
We post new videos every day to help you stay informed, encouraged, and supported. So, like I said, grab your water, hit that like button, and let's jump in. Your GLP-1 update starts now.
In story number one, the GLP-1 market is about to experience a major disruption. Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are preparing to break away from the traditional insurance pipeline and offer their weight loss medications directly to employers. No pharmacy benefit managers, no rebate deals, no hidden pricing structures, just transparent access paid up front at a predictable cost. Notice I didn't say cheap cost, just predictable. In a system that has felt impossibly complicated for years, the simplicity of this move is startling. For the first time, employers will be able to purchase GLP-1 injections like Wegovy and Zepbound directly, with no middlemen shaping prices, limiting access, or negotiating contracts behind closed doors. No shell game pricing, just the drug and the cost straight up. This shift is being driven by employers who say they are done with a system that tells them one thing, bills them another, and traps them in a maze of unpredictable costs. Employers want clarity, they want control, and they are tired of being told that the medications their employees desperately need are too complicated to cover. Beginning January 1st of 2026, Wegovy and Zepbound will be available through Waltz, W-A-L-T-Z Health, a digital health company helping employers buy medications at fixed real prices. Employers will pay a set amount up front, no fees, no rebates, no hidden agreements buried in contracts they never get to see, just a straightforward purchase that allows them to offer coverage without the exhausting pricing roulette that has defined obesity medication access for years. And employers are already signing up. Waltz Health says 4 major companies have committed to the program, calling it the absolute cheapest way employees on insurance plans have ever been able to access these medications. That's a significant claim because it cuts directly into the business model of pharmacy benefit managers who rely on the same. That is a significant claim because it cuts directly into the business model pharmacy benefit managers rely on, the same PBMs that currently control pricing for roughly 165 million insured workers and have historically kept obesity medications unpredictable, restricted, and desperately out of reach. High prices. Right now, only 43% of large employers offer any coverage for obesity medications. Most people are still locked out. But this new direct-to-employer model flips the power dynamic. Waltz describes the program as an open marketplace where medications compete purely on clinical results and price. That is all patients have ever asked for, a fair shot at the medicine that works best for them, not the one that checks a rebate spreadsheet. For Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, this move builds directly on their earlier work launching direct-to-consumer programs like Novo Care and Lilly Direct. First, they bypassed insurers for individuals, now they are bypassing them for employers. The pressure is building and it is aimed directly at the audience that has been blocked the longest. And here's what this could mean for real people treating the chronic disease of obesity. Some of you may see doors open that have been sealed shut for years. Some of you may finally walk into HR and hear something other than exclusions and denials. Some of you may get your first yes. But there's another side to this story. A move this big could also push insurance companies even further away from covering these medications, leaving millions without access while others benefit. The risk is that we don't get more access overall, we just redistribute who gets access. So we're watching closely, we're watching to make sure this turns into real affordability and real accessibility for patients, and not just another strategy that boosts Big Pharma's bottom line without improving the lives of the people who need these medications most. We'll stay on the story, and honestly, I want to know how it works. Do I have to tell my employer I need the shot?
Well, you go through Walt's Health, so maybe you tell your doctor to prescribe to Walt's Health, and then you have to be on
I don't know how
an
it works.
employer's special program to get the special deal that Eli Lilly has negotiated with your large employer.
Right, which would still exclude us, because
Right, because
the two of us are not a large
we have two
employer.
employees. Actually, four.
And JoJo.
Well, five if you count JoJo. In story number 2, there is big news in the world of obesity treatment research. New large-scale, real-world data may be bringing us closer to predicting which GLP-1 medication will work best for each individual patient. According to a study titled Decoding the Hallmarks of GLP-1 RA Weight Loss Super Responders, researchers analyzed more than 135,000 people using a single GLP-1 medication. They reviewed millions of clinical data points to understand why some patients lose an extraordinary amount of weight while others lose very little. The study identifies 4 categories of treatment response: super responders, moderate responders, minimal responders, and weight regainers. According to the analysts, about 12.5% of patients were super responders, losing more than 15% of their total body weight in the first year. Nearly half of the patients lost less than 5% of their body weight, while another 35% fell into the middle range between 5 and 15%. The authors describe the difference this way. Super responders reversed nearly 2 decades of age-related weight gain in just 1 year, representing roughly a decade more weight reversal than moderate responders. The research also compared outcomes across medications and found meaningful differences. Patients using tirzepatide-based drugs such as Zepbound and Mounjaro showed significantly higher odds of becoming super responders and lower odds of minimal response than patients using semaglutide-based medications such as Wegovy and Ozempic. Older GLP-1 drugs showed the highest rates of minimal weight loss. The study also identified medical condition patterns that may predict who is likely to see exceptional results and who may need a different treatment approach. For example, patients with muscle stiffness but preserved joint health showed stronger response patterns with tirzepatide, while people with knee pain, osteoarthritis, chest pain, sleep apnea, or fibromyalgia were less likely to see major weight loss outcomes. Patients treated with tirzepatide also showed improvements in several obesity-related conditions, including obstructive sleep apnea and asthma, while semaglutide super responders experienced higher rates of vomiting and protein energy malnutrition. The research team says this work is the first step toward an AI-driven scoring tool that could eventually help physicians predict which GLP-1 medication will offer the best balance of expected benefit and expected risk for each specific patient. It's a pathway towards personalized obesity medicine rather than trial and error prescribing. It's early science and the study has not been peer-reviewed, so the authors caution that it should not be used for clinical decision-making yet. But if the signals continue to hold, it could dramatically change how obesity is treated. Instead of just hoping a medication works, patients may one day know which medication is most likely to work best for them before they ever take the first dose.
I pulled this, and this is right now a 32-page report. And some of the numbers seemed odd to me, and you noted that in that 5% number. They include basically all of the GLP-1s on the market, so liraglutide, and so there's some that are going to skew those numbers down pretty far.
Well, first they just looked at a single GLP-1,
Right, so
and then they compared them to all the other ones.
So Probably after Thanksgiving, I'll do a deeper dive on this because there's a lot of data there that's really intriguing. And I know you guys are going to ask questions. I'll put a link to it in there, but look for something after Thanksgiving.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show that you may have other conditions going on in your body that are going to affect how the GLP-1 medication works for you, right? So if you have joint pain, if you have sleep apnea, like one may work better than the other. And, something that is, people don't consider is maybe some of your lifestyle choices may affect also. Like if you're a smoker, maybe, it affects how the medication works. Just things to think about.
So stay tuned until after Thanksgiving, and then I'll do a deeper dive into this research because it's fascinating. Story number 3, and now to another major development in the world of obesity treatment. Eli Lilly has released new phase 2 clinical trial data in the magazine The Lancet for a once-weekly injectable medication called Eloralintide, and the results are getting a lot of attention. Unlike today's widely used GLP-1s, Zepbound and Wegovy, which work through a GLP-1 hormone pathway, Eloralintide targets a different hormone called amylin, which helps regulate appetite, slows stomach emptying, and supports metabolic balance. In the 48-week multi-center double-blind placebo-controlled trial, which included 263 adults with obesity or overweight, participants receiving the highest dose of Eloralintide lost about 20% of their body weight, compared to just 0.4% in the placebo group. Lilly described the outcome as showing clinically meaningful dose-dependent reductions in body weight over 48 weeks. Kenneth Custer, president of Lilly Cardiometabolic Health, said in the release, "These data show that Eloralintide offers the potential for strong efficacy with improved tolerability and could serve as an alternative to incretin therapies." And the study's lead author underscored why this matters, saying, "Obesity is a complex condition, and no single treatment works for everyone. We need therapies with different mechanisms of action so that each person can receive the treatment that offers the best balance of effectiveness and tolerability for them." On the safety side, most side effects were mild to moderate, with nausea and fatigue being the most common, and the company noted that dose escalation improved tolerability. Lilly says that based on the results, phase 3 enrollment is expected to begin by the end of this year. So for patients and physicians, the key message is that this is still early, but it could represent a meaningful new option, particularly for people who don't respond well to GLP-1 medications or struggle with tolerability. A different hormone pathway may mean more flexibility, more personalization, and more control. As always, phase 3 will tell us much more, including long-term safety, durability, cost, and real-world impact. But for now, Eloralintide is a name we'll be watching closely.
Eloralintide.
And I think I might have an extra syllable in there. Eloralintide, I'm not sure.
Or Eloralintide.
Eloralintide.
Eloralintide. So it's an amylin.
Right.
It's not a GLP-1.
Correct.
So it goes through a different pathway in your body to regulate appetite. It's 250 some people study, and most lost 20% of their body weight. I mean, that's significant. That's right up there with tirzepatide, right?
Yeah, absolutely it is. And it's, if you look at what Novo's doing with cagrilintide and cagrilintide, they're working, I think cagrilintide is working with these same pieces. So
Are also amylins.
But so it's possible your doctor at some point in the future has multiple things to pick from that could work best for you.
Tell you, Eli Lilly stock just keeps on going up.
Now, I wonder why when they're testing these, they don't include tirzepatide in this test instead of placebo.
Oh, but, how does it work versus tirzepatide? Like, do the people do better on
or do
Eloralintide or tirzepatide? Well, I mean, they have to test it against no drug, and maybe at some point they do head-to-head drug tests.
They don't do that in cancer research. They don't just say die. In this, they just say stay fat.
That's true. I mean, I guess in cancer trials, some patients get placebo and they get nothing.
I don't think they do. I think they still get the best treatment.
I mean, I certainly would hope they would get something.
Yeah, in this, they could give you.
But most of the studies we read about
it just
talk about versus placebo. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see a study of semaglutide versus tirzepatide versus Eloralintide versus orforglipron, those different medicines that are all work on different pathways. In story number 4, a new report published this week by Global Data says the rise of GLP-1 medications represents what they call a structural disruption to the food and beverage industry. Not a diet trend, not a temporary shift in eating patterns, and absolutely not a fad. According to the research, GLP-1 usage is already reshaping what people eat, how much they eat, and where they spend money. And those changes are accelerating faster than anything the food sector has seen in decades. Global Data cites research from the U.S. nonprofit RAND showing that at least 5% of U.S. adults are currently taking a GLP-1 medication, and at least 12% have taken a GLP-1 at some point. The firm projects that usage could increase tenfold by 2035. For an industry built on stable consumer habits, those numbers represent a seismic shift. As the researchers put it in their report, quote, GLP-1 drugs are not a passing trend. They are redefining how, what, and how much people consume, end quote. They warn that millions of Americans are already changing the way they eat, and that the companies who succeed will be those who adapt early and build products aligned with the needs of GLP-1 users rather than resisting or denying the change. So get on board, people.
That's right.
The train's about to leave. The train's leaving. The report suggests many major beverage and packaged goods companies will still view GLP-1 medications primarily as a threat, focusing on shrinking volume rather than recognizing new demand for higher quality, nutrient-dense, protein-forward, portion-appropriate products. But Global Data points to companies already leaning into the opportunity. Nestle and Danone have both released new protein-focused drinks, specifically designed for GLP-1 users. Nestle's Boost Pre-Meal launched last year, and Danone's new Oikos drinkable yogurt was introduced in August. Both are positioned to help people taking GLP-1 medications fuel properly despite decreased appetite, slower eating, and smaller meals. Global Data expects U.S. sales of GLP-1 targeted food and beverage products to exceed $2.7 billion by 2027, a category that essentially did not exist just a few years ago. Justin Shimmick, CEO of the food and beverage innovation agency Matson & Company, told Global Data's sister publication that the difference between GLP-1 use and every past weight loss movement is the speed. There have always been diets, he said, but nothing has been this effective and been adopted this quickly. He noted that brands calling for defense are missing the opportunity. Companies that lean into portion right sizing, added nutrients, and functional products can grow even if their traditional categories shrink. Shimmick emphasized that every company, every brand, every product, even indulgent ones, can rethink the right portion. He said the shift does not always require reformulation, but demands a willingness to build for a world where people want and need less volume and more value per bite. For GLP-1 users, this research validates something that we already knew. The way we shop, eat, and physically consume food has changed. GLP-1 users are not physically able to eat large quantities of food at one sitting. We need smaller portions of higher quality foods. Currently, 74% of Americans are living with overweight or obesity. That could shift rapidly as GLP-1 medications become more affordable and accessible. The food industry is now being forced to decide whether to defend the old system or help build the new one. As Global Data put it, the winners will be those who anticipate the shifts now and capture the new value pools as the market reshapes. This isn't a diet year, it's a reset year, and the ripple effects have only begun.
And I think they had the kernel of the truth in there. It's lower volume and higher quality.
Lower volume. You can make smaller portions. That would save manufacturers money, right? Rather than missing sales if they had higher quality product, maybe. And you could still reformulate to add protein, reformulate to add fiber.
I think if you use higher quality ingredients, which is the point, you won't have to reformulate.
Well, I mean,
problem is you've got all this
are looking for protein,
right,
are looking for fiber.
But you've got all this ultra-processed stuff that really is just an amalgamation of fat and sugar and salt.
It's still ultra processed, right? Even protein added products are ultra processed.
If you don't start with a higher quality ingredient to begin with, so actually put real meat, put real things in it, it's going to be hard to get those ultra processed things.
Put real meat.
I don't know. Well, your lean cuisines could have another ounce of meat in it, and hey.
Yeah, I ate a frozen meal for lunch today that said it had 20 grams of protein, but it had very little chicken in there, so I was kind of looking for something to add to that.
Thinking just in general, we have become so accustomed to essentially buying food by the pound and then being disappointed if our plate wasn't overflowing like this giant American smorgasbord.
Yeah.
And now we realize I don't need it to be overflowing. I just need the right amount of food that tastes good.
Right. No more supersizing. No, we won't need it. We won't be able to eat it. We won't want to pay for it because we won't be able to eat it. So we have to have smaller portions of high quality things, high nutrition is what we're looking for.
That's right. Story number 5, a new investigation from ABC 11's Diane Wilson in Raleigh-Durham shines a spotlight on a rapidly growing threat facing people searching online for GLP-1 weight loss medications. Scam pages multiplying by the thousands every single day. With demand for GLP-1 drugs surging over the past year and many patients seeking affordable access, scammers are aggressively targeting consumers on social media. According to the report, these fake pages promise steep discounts and limited-time bulk deals that appear legitimate, but are designed to steal money or deliver dangerous, unregulated products. Chief Information Security Officer Cindy Carter with Checkpoint told ABC 11 that scammers are using advanced artificial intelligence tools to create deep fake videos, synthetic influencer content, and fake physician profiles to make their operations look credible. Carter says their analysis uncovered more than 500 fraudulent pages being created every day, adding up to thousands upon thousands of active scam sites. The Food and Drug Administration has issued warnings about unapproved and potentially unsafe versions of medications being sold online. U.S. Customs and Border Protection showed ABC News examples of illegal GLP-1 shipments seized based on suspicious labeling and packaging, noting that legitimate medications entering the country must include packaging in English, which many counterfeits do not. Experts say one of the biggest red flags for counterfeit weight loss medications is any seller claiming you don't need a prescription. For all approved GLP-1 drugs, a prescription is required. Carter warns buyers to verify doctors and pharmacies through reliable sources and to walk away immediately from miracle claims or pressure-style deals. As she puts it, your health is not a place to click and hope. Beyond financial loss, counterfeit drugs can contain incorrect or dangerous ingredients, posing serious medical risks. Consumers can verify legitimate state-licensed pharmacies and telehealth providers through the NABP Safe Pharmacy resource and should avoid anything advertised as liquid drops, pearls, or other unapproved formats. For millions of Americans using GLP-1s to treat the disease of obesity, the message is clear. Stay cautious, verify before you buy, and protect your health and your wallet.
No such thing as GLP-1 drops. Right.
Well, but let me be clear. This is not about regulated compounding pharmacies. This is not about reputable telehealth. This is about people setting up websites to steal your money. Sometimes they just set it up, take your money, and don't deliver anything. Sometimes they deliver something that's either not the drug or an ineffective version of the drug, gray market, what have you, or it's something dangerous. It's a counterfeit. It's not real.
Yeah. You just have to be so careful. Verify, know where you're buying from. In story number 6, a new early release study is adding to the growing conversation about how GLP-1 medications may serve patient groups far beyond traditional obesity care. A systematic review and meta-analysis published in BMC Gastroenterology evaluates how GLP-1 receptor agonists affect weight and metabolic health in patients living with inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD, a population where obesity rates continue to rise. The researchers analyzed 8 retrospective cohort studies, including 1,236 patients who used GLP-1 medications for weight loss. And while the manuscript is still unedited and waiting final publication, the early results are noteworthy. Across the 8 studies, patients with IBD lost an average of 5.71 kilograms, or about 12.6 pounds, after starting a GLP-1 medication. In the semaglutide subgroup specifically, the average weight loss was 5.59 kilograms, or roughly 12 pounds, with statistically significant results. The analysis also showed reductions in BMI, with a pooled decrease of 2.18 kilograms per square meter. The study reviewed changes in hemoglobin, A1C, and cholesterol profiles, but the certainty rating for these metabolic outcomes was marked as very low, while the weight loss evidence was graded as low certainty. The authors cautioned that high variability across the studies, small sample sizes, and the retrospective design limit the strength of the conclusions and increase the risk of bias. Still, the researchers conclude that GLP-1 medications could represent a meaningful treatment option for obesity in the IBD population, but emphasize that more prospective trials are urgently needed before broader use is recommended. So for patients living with inflammatory bowel disease who also struggle with obesity, this early analysis may signal hope for more integrated treatment options in the future. But for now, the scientific community says more evidence is required before clinical guidelines change.
IBD.
Inflammatory bowel disease. GLP-1s might be good for that if you also have the disease of obesity.
I know there's a lot of people that would like that a lot.
Makes sense to me.
Story number 7, new research published in Nature Medicine this week reveals that GLP-1 medications may only temporarily suppress the abnormal brain signaling associated with food noise and loss of control eating. The study provides a rare real-time look into the human brain of a patient actively taking tirzepatide using a brain-computer interface implanted deep in the reward circuit, offering the most direct evidence yet of how GLP-1 medications affect the brain and where their impact may fall short. The research, titled Brain Activity Associated with Breakthrough Food Preoccupation in an Individual on Tirzepatide, appears in the January 2025 issue of Nature Medicine and was led by Dr. Casey Halpern and colleagues at the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania. The study used implanted electrodes connected to a responsive deep brain stimulation device to record neural activity in the nucleus accumbens, a core structure in the brain's reward and impulse control system. This allowed scientists to measure precisely what happens in the brain during breakthrough episodes of intense food preoccupation and loss of control urges. According to the research, tirzepatide suppressed the abnormal neural patterns associated with compulsive food thoughts, but the suppression was short-lived and incomplete. The neural signatures that drive food noise returned even while the patient was still actively taking the medication. The authors describe this as breakthrough food preoccupation despite GLP-1 GIP therapy, suggesting that while medications may quiet food noise, they may not fully resolve the neurological source of compulsive eating. The study's findings align with lived experience for many patients. The sudden silence of food thoughts early on medication, followed weeks or months later by the gradual return of mental noise demanding attention. The results also emphasize that for some individuals, especially those with severe loss of control eating, obesity is driven by deeply rooted neural circuitry rather than simple appetite cues or personal discipline. It's not your fault. Dr. Halpern cautioned that while GLP-1 medications have shown remarkable efficacy for weight loss and are transforming the landscape of obesity treatment, it is premature to extend them as miracle therapies for impulse control disorders without understanding their full neurological effects. As he explained, the impact of these medications on real-time human brain activity has only just begun to be studied, and more targeted treatments may ultimately be needed. The study also contextualizes just how widespread food noise is. Even without a formal diagnosis of binge eating disorder, as many as 60% of people with obesity report constant intrusive thoughts about food that cause distress and drive binge-like behaviors. This research helps validate that experience as biological, not psychological weakness. For patients using GLP-1s today, the takeaway is powerful. These medications significantly help reduce food noise, but they may not erase it entirely, and their effect may fade. That does not mean failure. It means the science is still evolving, and future treatments may combine medication, neuroscience, and behavioral tools to address the problem more completely. And for millions wondering why food noise sometimes returns after months of quiet, this may finally explain it. The brain is still trying to relearn its signaling patterns, and medication may only silence them part time. Or, as we've said many
Interesting.
times, it's a treatment, not a cure.
And I think on my own experience, I do occasionally, hear a donut calling me from across town or a cookie calling me from wherever. But it doesn't. But my brain has rewired to know that once I eat that thing that I've been thinking about, I don't eat as much of it as before because I eat a smaller portion and my brain goes, that's great, you're done. Not, that's great, I need more. So I think, maybe in time, maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, my brain will know, even if it does hear that food noise, that, oh, I don't really like that anymore, or I don't really need that anymore, or,
Maybe. I mean, what this is really saying is they don't know if or when it would be rewired.
Yeah.
And it's further evidence that obesity is a disease.
Right. And
this is an electrical issue in your brain that you cannot control.
I mean, that's really, for someone with a binge eating disorder to know that it's an electrical impulse in your brain driving you to binge, that's got to be very freeing. I mean, it's just as freeing as knowing as obesity is a disease and it's not your fault, right?
Oh, and this kind of research could inform the development of future drugs. If they know how the existing drugs work on the brain, then they could say, well, is there something else that can help with this, amylins, whatever the other pathways would be.
Yeah, no, I think it's great for, and just talking about food noise, I've even talked to people who said, I grew up as a skinny child, but I still had food noise, but I didn't struggle with obesity. I wonder how many fit people, normal weight people, under 27 BMI people hear food noise.
Well, it may be a function of their body is processing the food more efficiently or better, or there's other biological things happening that helps them process. Whereas our body says store, the winter is coming.
Right, or maybe their brain cuts them off after one or two, where our brain needs the tirzepatide to help us cut off after one or two.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had a friend in college who could just eat and eat and eat and eat, and he's still not a big guy. Still not a big guy 30 years later. And I just thought, however his
body processing
worked, it just
differently
didn't
than
work
mine.
the same as mine. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. In story number 8, new research out this week from Circana shows just how dramatically GLP-1 medications are reshaping the way Americans eat, shop, and spend. Circana is a leading consumer behavior and retail analytics firm based in Chicago, widely trusted across the grocery, retail, restaurant, and packaged goods industry. Their data is used by the country's largest retailers and brands to understand real-world buying trends, which makes this report particularly significant. We've had people from Circana speak at our private brand conferences.
And when I worked for retailers, we use Circana's data all the time.
According to Circana, 23% of U.S. households now include someone using a GLP-1 annually, which translates to an individual usage rate between 10 and 14%, and demand is still accelerating. New GLP-1 prescriptions grew 16% from September 2024 to September 2025, representing another 2.9 million prescriptions. Circana projects that by 2030, households with GLP-1 users will represent 35% of all food and beverage units sold in the U.S. and 37% of non-food items. For the consumer packaged goods industry, this is one of the largest behavioral shifts ever recorded. Sally Lyons-Wyatt, a global executive vice president at Circana, said, "The rise of GLP-1 medications is a huge moment for the CPG industry, consumer packaged goods industry. Shopper priorities are evolving quickly and dramatically." The report highlights that most patients take GLP-1s for 6 to 12 months, and the cost remains the number one reason why they stop. Just over 48% remain on the medication for a full year. Circana found what they call post-usage boomerangs, with half of former users saying they are likely to use the medication again. And even after stopping, many healthier behaviors, some categories like beverages, frozen foods, and tobacco, begin to rise again, but produce, personal care, and household organization continue to grow. suggesting that lifestyle change persists well beyond the prescription. The data also shows a major mindset shift. Since 2021, there has been a 41-point jump in GLP-1 users identifying weight management as their top health priority. Purchases of high-carb and high-sugar foods are declining sharply, while products higher in protein, fiber, and healthy fats are increasing. Traditional grocery spending is falling among GLP-1 users, but restaurant spending is rising, especially in casual dining. Restaurants experimenting with GLP-1 friendly menus are seeing momentum. And Smoothie King reports significant growth driven by women under 40 choosing GLP-1 aligned options. Even though GLP-1 users are buying fewer food and beverage items overall, they are still outspending non-users across consumer goods, shifting toward oral care, skincare, fragrance, beauty, wearables, portable audio, and cameras. Purchases tied to self-care and documenting transformation. Retail channels are shifting too, with spending moving away from mass and dollar stores and toward club stores, e-commerce, and convenience retailers emphasizing single-serve and portion-controlled products. The takeaway that matters most is even when people cycle off medication, many of the behaviors they learned on the GLP-1s remain. This data reinforces what millions of patients already feel. These medications are not just changing bodies, they're changing habits, routines, priorities, and the structure of our daily life. The ripple effect is now reshaping the entire food and retail economy as Americans rethink what health looks like and what matters to them.
So Circana is an interesting company because they have access to basically every bit of shopper data, whether it be through the loyalty card at your local grocery store or your credit card, so they can see everything everybody's buying. Now, they don't know it's specifically Laraine, but they know it's a person like Laraine. Right? There's no name.
At the grocery store, when you scan your card, that data is collected.
So they have a tendency to do household numbers. So what did they say? 23% of all households. Well, there might be one person in that household on a GLP-1, two people like us, we have four. So they don't. But it's a different way to look at the numbers, which makes it interesting. And then they can basically see what's in your entire basket as you shop.
Right. So GLP-1 users are buying less high carb, high calorie things and spending more on skincare or
protein powder, whatever.
More things with protein and healthy fats and fiber, but also spending things you can tell they're feeling better because they want to improve their appearance with skincare or home organization or other things where those categories are increasing.
And we all know we're buying clothes.
Retail should be up. If you're in the plus size clothing business, it might not be a good time for that. So.
All right, that wraps up this edition of the Downsized News. If you're looking for tools and ideas to help you on your GLP-1 adventure, head over to our website, thedownsized.org. You'll find links to our GLP-1 Amazon store, our Downsized email list, and even details about our 2026 Downsized cruise. Now, I'll hit this email list again because TikTok and some of the other social media channels are out there knocking things out and eliminating accounts. Please make sure you go to our website, thedownsized.org, and sign up for our email list. We own that list and we can always get in touch with you and tell you where we are. We want to make sure we have a way to contact you.
And make sure here while you're on YouTube to hit the like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you stay informed on all the GLP-1 news. We explain the science in plain English and share what's really happening with us as we continue our own GLP-1 adventures.
Thanks for being here with us today at The Downsized.
I'm Laraine Durham.
And I'm Christopher Durham, and we are The Downsized.